Alright, getting into changing the spark plugs on this 03 Lincoln, the V8 3.9 liter. You're going to need quite an assortment of tools. Definitely use a 7mm to get these covers off. So use 1/4 inch ratchet, and the one on the driver's side all the way in the back and on the bottom, it's kind of pushed up against the brake booster, so you're gonna have to use a open-end wrench on that. So you get the covers off. I got this loosened up. There's just like a little clip on here that you push and it'll come back. Take this breather hose off. And then over here there were a couple of 10 mils. So I took those 10 mils out so you can kind of move this harness around. And then you're going to need a bunch of extensions, especially like in the back here. And then pretty much everything on this side. Just going to have to figure out, you know, what extension you're going to have to use. Like on this side I had to put the socket in with an extension. And then I had to put another extension on when the socket was already in the hole. And then you can snap your ratchet on there. So once you get them loosened up, you know, you're going to need a magnetic tool to get them out of there, sneak them out of there. Got 6 of them out already. So we got all of them on the driver's side. I got a couple more to pull out on the passenger side here. They don't look too bad, but they're not looking so hot either. So definitely due for replacement. And I don't know, the threads have oil on them, but all the tubes were pretty clean. I think that's kind of a problem with some of these overhead cam motors. You know, you get a little bit of a leak in the valve cover into those spark plug holes, and they tend to fill up with oil, and then the coils want to kind of want to short out through that oil instead of firing through the plug. So coils are the same thing. They're 7 mils. Just got a little 7mm holding them on. See right there. And these come off pretty easy. Just a little push clip on the harness to get those off of there. So probably the worst side is doing this driver's side. And then I got a couple of new ones already in. So like, I mean, if you're a novice to doing spark plug changes, I don't know if you really want to do this job. You know, any overhead cam engine can be kind of difficult with threading the spark plugs back in. So usually what I'll do, I'll get the plug in the hole and get the socket in there. And then what I like to do is when I get everything lined up, I try to hold the extension in the socket as much towards the center of the hole as I can, and then I'll spin it counterclockwise, probably about 5 turns. I mean, you don't have to count how many turns, but the whole point of that is you're trying to get an even thread engagement when you start spinning it clockwise to tighten it. So the first thing I'll do when I get that plug in the hole with the socket on there, spin it counterclockwise. I feel like it helps line the threads up. So then you can very slowly start spinning it clockwise, and you know, you got to kind of do it by feel. If it feels like it's tightening up, like it's cross-threading, then back it off and start over again. It's probably the worst part about doing the plugs on overhead cams, just like my R6, you know. That's a dual overhead cam, 4-cylinder on the bike. And, you know, it's the same thing. You got to be really careful. I mean, if you screw up those threads, you're going to be having big problems. So, we're coming along. Let's get them all in on this side. Like I said, I got 2 more to do on the passenger side. Definitely need a magnet. Alright, I'm going to take this last one out. These are really easy to get to. You really got nothing in the way, so you don't have to play around with the extensions. So try to hold it so it's centered. And what I like to do, you know, once you get it threaded out a little bit, just reverse the ratchet and snug it back up again. Do that a couple times just to work the threads. And just grab it out of there with the magnet. You know, and these plugs are double platinum. Probably been in here maybe 5 or 6 years. So I mean, that's kind of the other thing too. You know, a lot of people talk like, oh, you can go 100,000 miles without a spark plug change. It's like, yeah, I guess you can, but it's probably not a bright idea either. Alright, so the gap is 0.044. It's just going to check it with this gapping gauge. So I can get the wire through there, so that's all good. I'm going to put some anti-seize on here.
Okay.
Alright, so got anti-seize on the threads. Ready to put this back in there. Alright, so like I was saying earlier, just try to keep this centered in the hole. Spin it counterclockwise. And then just start spinning it clockwise to thread it in. And you're just kind of doing this by feel. If you feel anything hanging up, just spin it back out and start over again. Really, the last thing you want to do is damage the threads in the cylinder head. So I got a 1/4 inch ratchet that has a 1/4 to 3/8 adapter. If you wanted to torque these, you could. I don't know what the spec is. I'm kind of I don't know. I never got into torquing spark plugs. Just kind of always did them by feel. And overhead cam, you can probably do it a lot easier than if you had like a wedge head like on the Mustang. So I'm using the 1/4 inch because it's gonna reduce the amount of torque I can apply to this. Just get it snugged up. That should be good to go. Alright, starting to reinstall the coils. So I just took some silicone spray on a towel and just wiped the boots off. You don't have to get crazy, you don't need that much silicone spray. And then took some dielectric grease. Just got a dab of it pushed into the tip there on all of them. And you know, the mounting bolts, just using some liquid wrench lubricating oil. See how much debris came off of there, so that'll help them spin in nice and easy. Oh, yeah. Alright, got all the coils back in there. Just gonna fire this thing up real quick, make sure everything's good before putting those covers back on top of the coils. Alright, seems like everything's running good. Car had kind of a miss on a cold start, so it's definitely running a lot better now. It'd be okay once it got warmed up and you're driving around, but the cold starts, it would kind of sit here and had like a little bit of a miss going on. Alright guys, pretty much finished up here. Probably the worst part is just getting the cover off on this driver's side. And to remove it, gonna have to bring it out towards the front, and then to reinstall it, you're gonna have to bring it in from the back. Plenty of stuff in the way, but just gotta throw the cover back on there. It's all done. So it's not impossible, but it's also not very fun. But like I said, seems like it got rid of that little miss I had going on, and you know, spark plugs get beat up over time, even if you got, you know, double platinums or whatever. None of this stuff lasts forever.